Welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. I am Aaron Fentress, filling in as host for Jordan Kent. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Dan Lanning talks about the bowl game against North Carolina. We got Bo Nix update. We got a new offensive coordinator hire and transfer portal madness. But first, let's get to the opening drive, brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Center, with Dan Lanning talking about the bowl matchup with North Carolina.
There's not a lot of teams in the nation right now that get an opportunity to go play to get 10 wins, right? And there's not a lot of, not every team in the nation gets an opportunity to go play in a bowl game. And this is a great bowl game versus a really good opponent. I think every one of our guys is anxious to get out there and do just that. You play for the love of the game. You play because you love football. You love to compete. And our guys want to get out there on the field and do that.
All right, that's Coach Dan Lanning talking about the importance of playing in a bowl game, which I think we all like to hear. And I'd like to welcome in to the new Talkin Ducks world order after my coup d'etat. I've taken over and overturned Jordan Kent and taken over this program, but I still have loyal subjects in Anthony Newman and Joey Harrington. How are you guys doing today, gentlemen?
We're doing good. Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I thought you'd throw some salt. No shade.
Where's Jordan? Where is he?
Jordan's okay. He's in a safe place, but there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Aaron Fentress. How you doing, Joey?
Oh, boy, I was doing a lot better about 5 minutes ago.
It's okay. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Okay, let's talk about what Dan Lanning said. North Carolina. I don't think the Ducks have ever played North Carolina. However, the Ducks have faced North Carolina coach Mac Brown, last time being in, or maybe the only time, the Fiesta Bowl that Mariota led the Ducks to a victory in down in San Antonio after during the 2013 season. What do you guys make of this matchup and what Lanning said about the importance of playing in a bowl game? We'll start with Anthony, since he gave me a good luck as opposed to throwing shade. Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, good job, by the way. I love North Carolina's colors. I love that.
So
blue.
do I.
I love that blue. So it's going to be interesting to see what colors they're going to wear. I hope it's not,
Are we talking about colors on this show now, or are we talking about football?
Wait. I just had to start that way because I love those colors of North Carolina. Those are I love that. But anyway, it's Dan Lanning said it. It's a football game. I mean, kids love to compete. And so anytime you want to compete or you have to compete, you're trying to win. And so I think it's a big opportunity for a lot of the guys who might be like, hey, I want to be on this football team and I want to play. I want to be a starter. And now these coaches are looking to those guys because there's a lot of guys that may be leaving. There's a lot of guys that have already left. There's a lot of guys that said, hey, I'm not going to play in this bowl game. So now the next guy steps up. He has to play, and he's playing for some playing time next year. He's playing for a starting spot next year. That's why it's exciting, and it's a bowl game. You get to go and play one more game and get 10 wins on the year. That's great.
And Joey, we talked last week about, falling back from the playoffs, falling back from the conference title game, and now you have a bowl game, and some fans are out there rumbling about it, but we all agreed that, hey, these things are still important. What say you?
Well, first say me is that, one, it wasn't the Fiesta Bowl that Oregon played Texas. It was the Alamo Bowl. They played Kansas State and Coach Snyder and Colin Klein in the Fiesta Bowl. You go back and throw that red hanky. You said Fiesta Bowl. And we also played Coach Mac Brown in the 2000 Holiday Bowl when Keenan Howry threw one of the most beautiful passes I've ever seen in my life. But that's neither here nor there. So I've been so just furious about not only Jordan not being here, but you already screwing up the intro to the show that I didn't even listen to anything
Alamo,
you said.
my bad. We had talked about it pre-show. I was there. I remember.
What say me? What say me?
I remembered the Alamo, Joey, but go ahead.
What say me was your question. I think college football has changed, and we've talked about it a lot on this. I mean, let's be honest, it was coach speak that Coach Lanning threw out there. And I'm happy that he says those things, and I'm happy that he has that drive, and you want a coach that simply just wants to play football all day and all night, and who wants to bring in players like that. But the reality of college football now, with the college football playoff as it stands and expanding to 12 teams here shortly, with the transfer portal and everybody in and everybody out, and whether you want to call it tampering or all sorts of stuff going on. Players, Smith and Jigba from Ohio State literally said he's not playing in the college football playoff because he's opting out, getting ready for the draft. Like, this is a completely new landscape of college football. And I don't want to say that bowl games aren't important anymore, but many bowl games are not important in the scheme of things. Are they important in terms of getting evaluation and coaches getting kids on film and deciding who wants to play? Like, a lot of decisions about who plays on the field, and Anthony, you can speak to this, are, when you got a guy neck and neck, you're choosing the guy who wants it more, right? You're choosing the guy who's got some heart. And I'll tell you what, the guys who are going to show up and play a meaningless game against North Carolina in San Diego, those are the guys who want it. So there is value to it, but it's a really interesting, I'm going to say, new twist on college football that I think we're all having to get rid of or get used to, where it's, if you're not in the college football playoff, anything else kind of seems like a letdown now.
All right, guys, next up, we're going to talk about Bo Nix's bowl status. Will he play? Won't he play? Next on Talkin Ducks.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
Welcome back. Up next is Excellence on the Field, brought to you by Ferguson Wellman.
Dan, what's Bo's status at this point? Is it looking like he's going to play in the bowl game?
Yeah, Bo's a competitor. He wants to get out there and play in this game for sure.
All right, short and sweet from Dan Lanning, but it's exactly what Ducks fans wanted to hear. Bo Nix is going to play in the bowl game, but does this mean, Joey,
well, I think it means
also
exactly,
be leaning towards coming back next season?
Well, I think it means exactly what Coach Lanning said. Like, you can see something different in Bo Nix. I don't want to say this year, but there have been hints that he's kind of dropped. Like, he has enjoyed playing football in Eugene. He has enjoyed playing football for Oregon. We talked about it last week about the potential of him coming back, and I don't necessarily think it's. I don't know. If I was a betting man, I think I would wager that he is going to be coming back to play in Eugene next year. That's just my gut. I think there's a competitiveness. I think that there's a fire. I think that there is, I don't know. There's just something that I can't put my finger on, but I think that's the type of thing that makes a great leader, right? It's that it factor. It's that even when people say you shouldn't or you couldn't or you wouldn't, to step up and do it anyway. And I think that is the type of guy that Bo is, and I think that's why he's playing in this game. He's probably coming back to play here next year. So there you go.
Anthony, are you surprised that Bo is playing in this bowl game, and do you think it means he's going to return next season?
Well, I won't believe it until he's out there practicing. I mean, there's a lot of words right now, and people can say different things and try to keep it hush-hush. But I do know this, being a defensive coach, if you're going against a healthy Bo Nix, it is tough to defend. He is tough to defend because he can run if he has to. He can throw the ball, the deep pass, the short passes. I like him as a quarterback because he likes to run to buy time to throw the football. He's not looking to run just to be a running back playing the quarterback position. So as a defender, I don't want to see Bo Nix. I want to see the next quarterback, and I don't know who's the next quarterback because I don't know who's leaving and who's not leaving. So I want to see the guy that's the backup, because when you see Bo Nix, you have to change your whole defense. You have to have a controlled pass rush. You have to have a linebacker maybe spying on Bo Nix at the line of scrimmage, and now that takes away from another guy in the back end for coverage. So it creates a lot of problems for the defense. And also, it helps the offense in the running game. Okay, now you have to honor Bo Nix as a runner along with, Bucky Irvin and Noah Winnington. So, without a Bo Nix, it's much easier. With the healthy Bo Nix, and we saw a hurt Bo Nix, and he struggled a little bit. He couldn't run like he wanted to. And I think that hurt Oregon's offense a little bit in the last couple of games. But a healthy Bo Nix, wow, look out.
So my take on this is that, at the end of the day, we can talk about Bo as a competitor, which he clearly is, and maybe he does feel like a sense of duty of finishing out the season, and then he might turn pro. But I don't believe he's going to go pro at all. I think he probably got a grade back that says this is where you're probably going to go. This is the money that's going to be, and then you sort of weigh that out. Last year, a third-round pick, Desmond Ridder, who was with the Atlanta Falcons, got $5.3 million. That's over 3 or 4 years, I think it was. If Oregon or someone associated with Oregon steps up with a bunch of money, close to $1 million for this next season, it makes sense to play for that $1 million and try to increase your draft stock if you were going to go 4th round or lower, or maybe even 3rd round or lower. So I think that kind of changes the game. But if his mindset was, I need to go pro, especially coming off of an injury, that's the other thing. He's coming off of an injury that has limited him. So you'd want to spend the next month healing that up so you can jump into the draft process and try and elevate your stock that way to make more money on the back end. But the fact that he's not doing that, he's going to go out there and play, tells me he's almost assured of coming back next season. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Yeah, I totally agree. You're not going to hurt yourself more and then maybe attempt to hurt yourself more by playing in the game and then go pro. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. You have to get ready for the draft. You have to get ready for the combine. You have to get ready for the pro days. So you got to have that ankle heal up and be ready 100% when you go perform in front of those NFL scouts. Playing in the bowl game and then go playing pro? I don't think so.
Now I want to take you, Joey, back in the Wayback Machine for a minute. Let's say the 2000 season was your last season.
I don't get a chance to agree or disagree? You taking me?
Yeah, no, I am. I'm setting you up. I'm setting you up. So let's say 2000 was your last season and you were projected to be maybe middle round pick, not first round pick.
Which is exactly the case. I was projected to be a 5th or 6th round pick.
Okay. And you were coming off an injury, right? And the bowl game was coming up. Would you play in that bowl game if you were planning on going to the NFL?
My gut, right? That's an interesting, wow. No. My gut would be no, but that's just based on what college football is now. Nobody was skipping bowl games 20 years ago, right? That wasn't a thing until, the last 10 years. But with everything, going into it now, no, I wouldn't be playing. So, okay, so I'm going back to the agree or disagree thing. Okay, the question was, does that mean that he's coming back? So I have an agreement and I have a disagreement. My agreement is absolutely that for what you just stated, that means that, at least to me, that Bo Nix is coming back for next season. That the numbers have penciled out, and that's the reality, like we talked about, the reality of college football now. These decisions are based off of cash. It's cash in
Show
pocket.
me
There
the
you go.
money.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I disagree with the fact that just because Jordan is gone, that you get to be host the whole time. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to take us to break. When we come back, we're going to learn more about Coach Stein, the new offensive coordinator for the Ducks, and we're going to hear all about those 1 or 2 times when Aaron was right. And then Anthony.
This is my coup. You can't jump in on my coup.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
I don't really worry about other people's expectations. What you do is you hire the best people you possibly can for the job. I know 12 months ago, there were some hires that I made that people weren't necessarily as excited about. And I think the results speak for themselves. We did really, things went really well. So people are going to write whatever they want. Here's what you have to know. I'm going to do anything and everything I can to make sure we get the best people in place for Oregon to be successful in football. And luckily here, we have the ability to go attract the best of the best. Don't really care what logo they have on. Don't care what team they're associated with. I'm interested in getting the best people. And when you get an opportunity to go get the best people, that's when you have a chance to be successful in the field. And you know what? Players know it. The minute you put them in front of them in the room, right? The minute you go out there to the practice field, they realize what good coaching looks like. And we're going to make sure that we have good coaches in place to enhance our program.
There you have it. Dan Lanning laying it down as to why he hired Will Stein, new offensive coordinator from the University of Texas at San Antonio. Not necessarily a huge name that everyone would know of. And of course, University of Texas at San Antonio is not necessarily a major program, but he loves this guy, and that's what matters most. Joey, what do you think of the hire?
Two things. Number one, I mean, in both, let me just say, I love the hire for two reasons. One, this is why we brought in a guy like Dan Lanning, right? This is literally the foundation of hiring a young, energetic, forward-thinking, sometimes outside the box type of coach, right? This is what you want him to do. This is what you want from a head coach at the University of Oregon. Someone to go out and say, I'm going to not necessarily hire the biggest name, because that's not us, right? I don't need somebody with a huge pedigree. I want somebody who's going to be the best. I don't know what the University of New Hampshire's mascot is. Does anybody else?
No.
Nope. Who came from the University of New Hampshire? A guy named Chip Kelly, right? Same thing. Like somebody who is innovative, somebody who is young, somebody who had a vision. So like this is so reminiscent of that hire to me, because whether it was Mike Bellotti or Dan Lanning, they don't care what everybody else says. They don't care that it's not a marquee name. They care that they got the best guy for their program. And that is purely what it's all about. And I love the fact that Coach Lanning went out and did just that. He didn't say, I'm beholden to some name or some title or some aura or resume, but rather I want the guy who's going to be best for us and what we're trying to do. I love it. Now, does it mean it's going to be perfect and it's going to work out? No, it doesn't. It never does. It's always a crapshoot, right? No matter who it is. But I love the fact that he felt solid enough in his philosophy, in his head coaching abilities, in the locker room and what he's built to be able to say, this is the guy I want, even though it may go against popular opinion, or have some people just kind of scratch in their head and say, who?
Here's what trips me out about this whole thing. If someone has a big name, right, and they're a great offensive mind, why are they available? Wouldn't they already have a great job or be a head coach already? Why would they be available for Oregon to go and get it? It doesn't make any sense. And that's not a knock on Oregon. That's just presenting logic. So usually in Oregon's, well, almost in Oregon's entire history, they've brought in someone who was rising through the ranks, whether you go Bellotti, Borges, Tedford, Kelly, you just mentioned, even Helfrich. You know, Helfrich had been OC a couple different places, but he wasn't a well-known name. These things usually work out. And I remember the crying that went on when Bellotti hired Kelly. It was amazing. Who's this guy? Why didn't they hire a big name? New Hampshire. Then it was like, oh, snap. Look at the offer. Right? Whoa, wow. This guy, we just beat Michigan. Oh, my God. Statue of Liberty, right? So you just got to trust that Lanning, who, by the way, is an up-and-coming coach. When he got hired, he'd never been a head coach before. Yes, he's been a DC at Georgia, but he's never been a head coach. You got to trust that he's going to be able to recognize good coaching talent and bring it in, which is what he just did with Dilly, right? And now Dilly's the head coach. And that's another thing about this job. It had to have been attractive, because how many coaches have come through Oregon as offensive coordinators and become head coaches either here or elsewhere? Is it like 8 maybe off the top of my head? So that all that is nonsense. But I want to ask Newman, a defensive guy, when you look at a coach, no matter where he was, no matter what his name was, if he's putting up, 486 yards of offense anywhere, it could even be on West Lynn High School, your team, aren't you going to be impressed regardless of what their name is?
Well, yes. And my question is this. Who's out there questioning Dan Lanning on his coaching hiring? Like
the same people who question every play call.
Like who?
Dumb call. I can't believe that.
So if you question it, why don't you become a head coach? But no, wait. I take that back. You're sitting at your house questioning everything, but you're not out there being a head coach. You're not out there doing the work. You don't. To me, shut the hell up.
Oh, he's fired up.
Excuse me.
He's fired up.
I'm sitting back.
Yeah,
now.
I'm getting
Go
fired
for
up
it.
about that. No. But here's the deal. No one knew who Dillingham was before the season started. Who's that? Who's that? Well, I think he did a pretty good job with the offense, and so to me, it doesn't matter where the guy comes from. Joy, you said this. It doesn't matter who the guy is, what his name is. Okay, can he coach offense? Does he understand the game? Does he understand how to score points, move the football, and what Dan Lanning is looking for? And you also have to understand what's Dan looking for in a coach? It's not just some guy with a big name out there. And Aaron, you said it. The guy with the big name, he's not going anywhere. He's stuck at that place, or he's going to be a head coach. So, these critics out there that want to question that have no clue. Almost said something.
I saw that coming.
Whoa.
They have no clue.
I got the dump button ready.
Well, anyway, I'm calmed down now. But hey, I think it's a great hire. I can't wait. That offense is going to be dangerous. And as a defensive coach, I'm like, wow, how do I stop this? I'm scratching my head. How do I slow this offense down? Great hire.
All right, guys, next up, Transfer Portal Palooza. It is a madhouse. We'll talk about that next on Talkin Ducks.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
I guess the thing I would say is I wonder if you could go back however many months this first started, if this is what we wanted. Is this really what we wanted college football to be? And I don't know if that's a reality, right? That, what's tomorrow going to look like? I don't know that any of us really truly know. And you want to be prepared for it as a coach. We prepare for a lot of different scenarios. I know that it's at surface level, the intent, what the portal was intended to do, it was really a great opportunity for student athletes. And now where it's headed, I don't know if that's the case. And I don't know if that's great for college football. That being said, we're going to take advantage of every resource that we have to enhance our program and make us better. And it certainly helped us this past year. We're going to look for opportunities to, and help enhance us moving forward. So it's been really good to us. We've done a really good job of managing it. We're going to look for the right ways to manage it moving forward. What it'll look like in college football, I think tomorrow could be, certainly a different day.
All right, that's Coach Dan Lanning talking about the transfer portal, which is total madness right now. Players are just flocking, leaving their programs all over the country. And this is one of those perfect topics where those of us middle-aged and older are going to be like, get off our lawn moments. But it's an interesting conversation because there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. Joey, what do you make of what's happening with this portal system in college football?
What we have right now is a complete, unchecked college football free agency, which, is fine in the sense of, if you're operating a professional league, like, is this your profession? I don't think we have enough time in this segment. We have a rule in college football that says you have to be 3 years removed from high school to enter the draft for professional football. Yet currently as it stands, you can pick up and go wherever you want in that college football, which isn't really college anymore because you're getting paid because of NIL. So actually you are professionals, but we're not allowing you to go to a professional league. So it's literally like this. There are rules that are contradicting themselves. And what we're left with is at the end of the season, you're going to lose 10 to 15 players. And you know that you're going to have 10 to 15 new ones. And for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which, leaving a decision up to a 18, 19-year-old kid about, what is going to be the best for their future, I don't know. I don't like how it stands. I understand the idea behind it. I think there needs to be something that comes into play really quick. But until it does, like Coach Lanning said, we're going to take advantage of it. And we're going to use our resources, and we're going to do the best we can within the framework that's set up right now. But in terms of how it stands for the long run, I don't think it's good for college football. And I think could ultimately be the end of, I would say college football as we know it. But I mean, this makes the ball game completely different.
And Anthony, one of the clear problems with the portal is that it makes it tough for coaches to sort of map out and plan their program's future based on their recruiting guys who, okay, this guy's going to take a couple years to develop, but then I'll have him in 3 years to be a starter or what have you, because a lot of these kids want to play right away or they're not happy with their situation. As a former player and a guy who coaches high school football, can you just put a little bit of a spin on just how difficult it must be for these coaches to really build their teams this way?
Yes. I agree with Joey it's a mess right now. And I have a couple of coaches, I'm close to one of them, that he told me, Anthony, I think I'm going to be done coaching because I can't compete with what's going on now in college football. He goes, the art of recruiting and having these kids trust you, and you go into their homes and you talk to the parents and then you talk about the education that you're going to provide for them and all that good stuff about, playing college football, that's out the window because it's all about money, and I'm not going to fault kids for the opportunity to get money because that's what the system is today. And if they want to better themselves and they play 1 year here and you go, you know what, I'm going to go over here and play over here because I think I can get some money and I think I can play, then if they can better themselves, so be it. So I'm not going to knock them, okay, because the system is flawed. It is flawed. I mean, I think there needs to be some rules and some guidelines. And right now, it was extreme one way, and now it's the extreme the other way. So it's not in the middle. So it's a mess. And with coaches trying to deal with this transfer portal, it's hard. So if you got 3 quarterbacks on a football team and you have 2 quarterbacks who don't get the starting spot, and they'll go, you know what, I'm out of here. So now you got 1 quarterback. So how do you deal with that? And then what happened to the art of competition? Hey, let's compete for that spot. If I don't get it, I'm going to keep competing until I get it. That's gone because if you don't get the starting spot, you're saying, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to go over here and play. And who says the grass is greener over there? But you don't know, and I'm not going to fault the kid for going somewhere else and trying. I fault the system. The system's messed up.
Right. I think that's the question. I mean, what's college football trying to be? Right. And I don't think college football knows right now. Anthony, your point earlier was like, coaches aren't going into used to go into families' living rooms and say, I'm going to take care of your son. I have his best interest in mind. And I know that while, he may or may not play, I'm going to help cultivate his next chapter of life, right? That was always the thought. That's gone. Completely gone. And college football hasn't changed. They haven't changed the rules. They haven't changed to make a statement to say, yes, we're actually a minor league, for the NFL. Like there's this, nobody knows which world they're living in. Is this college football or is this a smaller version of the NFL? Because right now we're just kind of sitting somewhere in between the two.
So here's one thing that's obvious though. The portal the way it is great for Oregon. There's just no doubt about that because there's going to be a lot of kids out there who are going to want to choose bigger programs to elevate to. Gonzalez did that from Colorado, followed his DB coach to Oregon. You got a number 1 corner out of it, right? They went out and got a quarterback instantly. A few years ago when they needed a quarterback, they had to get a graduate transfer from the SCS level. Now they were to get a former 5-star pick recruit like Bo Nix and get him for maybe 2 years, right? You also, 2 running backs elevated from a lower programs to Oregon got to play here. So Oregon's going to be able to cherry pick guys they want to fill holes, which I think we're going to see them do a lot this season. Now, that's great for Oregon, but is it fair for other programs? If I'm another program who's not on Oregon's level, I'm fearful that I'm going to recruit and develop talent, and programs like Oregon are going to come take them from me with no consequences for the kid. Now, here's my solution. Okay, hear me out on this. What I would implement if I were, performing a coup d'etat on the NCAA, as I just did on Talkin Ducks, is I would allow coaches to have a protected list. 25, 30 guys that you can designate as that they can't transfer without having to sit out a year. So what you're saying is that those 30 guys are a part of your future. I think the best thing about the transfer portal should have been for guys who are stuck in situations where they cannot play and or the team doesn't necessarily want them for their future anymore. Case in point, Butterfield. Butterfield's never going to play at Oregon. So why would Jay Butterfield stick around and be a second or third string quarterback for the rest of his career? He should be able to leave and go somewhere and play right away. But you don't want to see teams recruit guys, develop them, and then boom, they're just gone with no consequence. So you create a protected list for each program, 25, 30, 35 guys, however many you want it to be, so that the program can build the team they want to build and say, no, you're a part of our future. We need you. And that's a commitment to that kid, so that kids don't get disgruntled after 1 year and just try and bail because they're not getting what they want. That's just my little solution. You've seen protected lists in other situations like expansion drafts in the pros and things like that, but that's what I would do.
I don't
Agree or disagree or move on?
I don't disagree. I mean, I think, again, this is one of those things that, Aaron actually has a pretty decent idea on. Doesn't happen very often. But it's not a bad idea. The problem is, though, and this was always the conversation that I would actually have with my dad. He'd say, if you as a player come in and commit to a coach, and I commit to this program, and then all of a sudden I'm committed for 4 to 5 years, which is what the old system used to be, but that coach can leave whenever he wants. He can just bail on you. So if I create a protected list, and that's kind of the situation. And so I understand a player's ability to take off. And yes, I know that if the coach leaves, then your protected list goes out the window or whatever the solution is. But what I'm also doing is I'm making another transition because we had a big-time coach coming into the Pac-12 this week. Ooh, you see how I did that? I'm coup d'etat.
Right, but we're not done with the
You're
segment,
double
Joey.
coup d'etat.
Joey's used to being the quarterback, so he thinks he can just take over the huddle here. We're not done with this segment yet.
We are now, because coming up after the break, we're going to hear all about the brand new Pac-12 head football coach, Prime Time.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time for our legendary moment, brought to you by Abby's Pizza.
As you know, I have work to finish in Jackson, Mississippi. They tell me we an O. That means we hadn't lost to anybody. We're an O. And we got to win the championship. But simultaneously, like I play baseball and football, I can multitask and I can focus. And this is my job and my occupation and my business and my dream to bring you back to where you know you should belong. We're going to have one of the best coaching staffs assembled, some of the best scouts, some of the best kids that we're recruiting, and commitments already coming on the way as I speak. And now that I've gotten here and I see it, and I understand it, Rick, and I can grasp it, and I can touch it, and I can feel it, and I can taste it, I truly understand what you want. All you want is an opportunity to win, to compete, to dominate, to be amongst the elite, to be amongst the best. And darn it, I'm going to give you that.
Uh-oh. Prime Time is in the house. First of all, I love Deion Sanders. I think this is extremely exciting for the Pac-12. And we just talked about the transfer portal and how much of an impact it's having. Well, I think Deion is going to bring in a ton of talent to Colorado and make them relevant pretty quickly. Let's start with you, Anthony. Since you are a former NFL defensive back, what do you make of Deion Sanders taking over the Colorado program?
Well, I competed against Deion for a long time. I mean, we weren't on the same field, on the field at the same time, because he's a defensive back. I'm a defensive back. I think he has a punt return, which I'm on the highlight reel trying to tackle his butt. But
his first one ever, right? Touchdown, I think it was against you guys.
Yeah, but he ran the other way, so I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So he didn't run.
What was your angle, Newman?
He didn't run to my side.
Bad angle.
Yeah, he outran all kinds of angles. But as a competitor, he is, and that's what he's going to bring to that organization, to the school. Excitement. People want to see a show, and they think they're going to see a show, and he's going to bring a show. He's going to bring guys who can compete. He's going to bring guys who can play, and that's what he's looking for. So I really don't know how it's going to turn out, because I've seen him coach, you know, on different situations where he's hard on his coaches. That's one thing I've seen. He's hard on his coaches, which is a good thing sometimes. But sometimes it's not a good thing. It depends on how much love you give back as well. You know, I think people were shocked when he was talking to the kids. Hey, if you need to transfer, get on out of here. You know, and we got people coming in to replace you. That was like, ooh, you know, his first interaction with the kids. But it is what it is. That's him, and that's how he's going to really change that program and make it into a winning program. And he's going to be hard, and he's going to make some tough decisions. But that needs to happen. The Buffaloes are not really good. Okay, they struggle. They need to change.
Look, this is the perfect coach at the perfect time for Colorado for all the reasons that we just talked about, because of the NCAA not knowing who they are, right? From the moment he got to Jackson State, Coach Sanders said, I am all about money. I am all about, about bringing in the right players, about giving guys the opportunity to get to the NFL. Like, and that's how he's always been, right? And that's a philosophy that has existed in the NFL, right? Because college football was something different. Now that landscape has completely changed in college football. And he comes into this space of Colorado that has been dying to get back to where they were. And now all of a sudden, like, those rules that prevented those things from happening are out the window. And so Deion is going to be able to bring in all these players because of his personality, because of his blunt honesty to not only the existing players, like, if you're not ready to compete, get the hell out of here, but also to those guys that he's trying to bring in to say, look, come here and I can get you some of your money. Right? I know how to get that done. That's how I live. That's what I'm here to teach you. The interesting thing, so I think there's going to be an immediate impact. What I'm curious to see is he brought immediate name recognition to a conference that had not historically been, a dominant football conference, right? So if you're comparing how he came in at Jackson State and then built that program to compete against the other schools in the SWAC, I'm not sure it's a fair comparison, because Oregon is going to have resources that Alcorn didn't, right? USC is going to have resources that some of the other HBCUs didn't, right? So there is going to be more leveling of the playing field. However, I think that immediately Colorado is going to rise to the level that they can compete with those who are already taking advantage of those situations.
Yeah, one of the things we saw, and we talked about it on the show during the Oregon-Colorado game, was that it was clear Oregon just had way better talent. Like, there was just no doubt. So scheme didn't even matter in that game, because Oregon's athletes were bigger, faster, stronger, and more talented. So Deion, though, what should be frightening for the rest of the Pac-12 is that Deion landed some really big recruits to an HBCU that otherwise would have gone to a Bama or a Georgia or an Oregon. And you wonder how many kids he was in on who said, yeah, I just can't do it, coach. I want to go to a Power 5 school, that now he can reach back out to and say, hey, I'm at a Power 5 school. How are things going for you where you are? Come play for me here. And that, I think, is going to add to his ability to just immediately elevate the talent level to the point where they're automatically going to win 6 or 7 and then see if they can coach their way to 8, 9, or 10 wins. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, but that's the question. So he just said, when we were coming in, that he's and O, right?
Right.
I think that there was that and O because there weren't the teams around to challenge in the way that there are going to be in the Pac-12. I completely agree. Like, immediately they're going to be a 6, 7-win team, right? And now
Joey, did you play against Prime?
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Still around, wasn't he?
No.
He came in. Deion was 89 and Joey was 2001. Deion was still around. No? Y'all never played?
Maybe,
All right, never mind.
I don't know. Maybe coming up after the
I'll look it
break,
up.
we find out if I played against Deion. No, I don't think I did. I played against Rod Woodson. I know that. But anyway, yeah, he's going to be a 6-7, maybe 8-win team this year for sure. Can they, like, what I'm curious to see how he competes against USC, how he competes against Oregon, how he competes against the rising, Washington that's getting, like, there are other teams that are going to be on his schedule that will give more of a competition than he had in the years past.
All right, Oregon fans. Michael Penix Jr. is back for another season with the Huskies. We'll talk about that next on Talkin Ducks.
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. It's time for What's Cooking, brought to you by Sam's Northwest Barbecue. Big news in the Pac-12 in terms of the non-transfer portal is that Michael Penix Jr., Washington's quarterback, is going to stay. He's coming back. You know he's getting paid because he was definitely going to get drafted. Joey, what do you think this means not only for the Huskies, but for the rest of the Pac-12?
What does it mean?
Trouble.
I think, what? I think that it means that Washington is committed to reestablishing themselves as a Pac-12 power. Like, look, like Penix could have just bounced and said, you know what, I'm out. You know what, I got my visibility. I got what I wanted from the transfer. Like, see ya, I'm out. Instead, he's staying. He says, I believe in what Kalen Bohr is building here again. There's something that is keeping him there. Right? That's the thing that you have to come back to. With all the money available in the NFL, there's something that is keeping him there. Washington is committed to building themselves back, and having him stay is a massive piece of that.
Yeah.
Newman, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think as a football player, you want to compete against the best, and you want the best to be in your league. And on a Saturday afternoon, you're going against Washington, and they have a great quarterback that you have to defend, and you have to play well against. And if you want to raise your game and you want to go to the next level, you have to go and compete against the best players out there. And that helps Washington, and it helps the Pac-12, I believe, by him staying.
All right, gentlemen, next up, Georgia going for the repeat in the college football playoffs. Are we at all upset that USC failed to reach the Final Four?
You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber.
All right, welcome back to Talkin Ducks. It's time for our rock solid pick, brought to you by Milan Stoneworks. All right, college football Final Four is out. One team that blew a shot at getting in that mix was USC, losing to Utah in the Pac-12 title game. Given the fact that USC has a big name brand, obviously, and could represent the Pac-12 maybe well in the playoffs, a lost opportunity there, but also USC is going to be leaving in a couple of years anyway. So should this even matter to the Pac-12?
No, wait, but first, I was saying this a long time ago, USC's not going to win anything. They don't have a defense. You got to win with defense. They have no defense. They have a bunch of 7-on-7 guys playing defensive backs who can't tackle. That's why they lost. If they could stop somebody, they could maybe win a game or two, or maybe I should say a championship or two. But until they have a better defense, they won't win the big game.
Joey?
What?
See? When I asked you a question, you're like, wait a minute, I want to say something. Now I just give you the floor and you're like, what? Do you think it matters or should matter to the Pac-12 that USC didn't get into the playoffs, given that USC is going to ditch the Pac-12 anyway?
Yeah, last week I wanted them to win, and now that they didn't, I'm glad they didn't. I don't know. I think it just kind of changes week to week. It's like, honestly, as long as Georgia doesn't win, I think I'll be happy. Well, I don't want Ohio State to win either. I'm rooting for Michigan or TCU.
Flip-flopping, Joey.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, playoff field, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. Pick a champion. Newman.
Georgia, all the way. All the way.
Joey, pick a champion.
Michigan. Because of...
I'm going to go with you on that, too. I think Michigan's going to rise. Jim Harbaugh's due, man.
Nope.
He's put in his dues. He's an example why you shouldn't just give up on a coach. He struggled beating Ohio State for years. Now he's beaten them twice. He's in the playoffs again. I think he's going to break through and make it to the championship game. Calling it.
There we go.
All right, guys. Great job dealing with me taking over for Jordan this week. Next week, Jordan will be back, and we will talk more about the OC hire, transfer portal, Holiday Bowl, and much more on Talkin Ducks. See you next week.